This is a Hot Pie Media original. I've gotten the green light thumbs up. Welcome to the show, The Amy Edwards Show, and I'm your host, Amy Edwards. We are here to raise our voices, to strengthen our lives, to overcome fear, to rock in brand new ways, and to become our best, shiniest selves. Sounds pretty damn good, doesn't it? We are here today with a woman that I know named Angie Hejl. Angie is one of the shiniest, brightest women that I have met in a long time. If you said, who shines, who sparkles, I would think of her. So when it came to my attention and she shared just a little bit a while back that she had been in prison, I was very surprised. It showed that she had done a lot of work to rebuild her life and to create a life that she loves and to love herself. And I was like, I have to know more. So I reached out to her. She wasn't ready to tell her story yet, but today she joins us. And I am so excited to share it because it is really, really powerful. And I mean, we've all thought about it, about those times like, what if that was me? What if that was me, right? And so I really encourage you to listen with that today, that thought, what if that was me? Being able to let go of judgment and being able to understand with compassion and empathy what really happens when that's the hand you're dealt. So excited to get into today's interview. First off, too, I want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for the comments, the ratings, reviews, the follows, the subscribes. I'm so grateful. If you can continue to do that, or if you've never rated or reviewed it before and this podcast means something to you or has given you anything at all, please comment, rate, share. It all really, really matters and makes a difference as we work to build this. And I am working to build a community here and to put something good out into the world. That is my goal. If you ever want to reach out to me, please do. I'm available, amy@amyedwards.com. I'm easy to find and easy to reach. So thank you so much for being here. And let's get to today's episode. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. And BetterHelp is here to help you. They are ready to provide licensed professional therapy online and safe for you. And guess what? I'm doing it too. That's right. I'm in therapy with BetterHelp and I love it. You fill out a pretty simple intake form and then you're off and running. They're going to start communicating with you in under 2 days, under 48 hours with professional therapy. And they really hone in, as I filled it out, they really hone in on specifically what your needs are and what is going on. And I was brutally honest. So that has been an interesting journey to get paired up with your own professional licensed therapist. And they have a broad range of expertise. Like that's why they get so specific, because they have people all over that you may not have in your area. And this is available worldwide and you may not have them. And you can really like get what you need, which is so cool. You can log in anytime. You can send a message to your therapist and you get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. They give you an option. You can do video or phone sessions, or you can just text if you want to just text. That's okay too. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating good therapeutic matches, really good therapeutic matches. So they don't mind if you need to change therapists. If you feel like this isn't quite a fit, don't worry, you're not going to hurt anybody's feelings. You can go ahead and go to them and you can change therapists if needed. It's more affordable too than traditional offline therapy. In fact, financial aid is available and they do ask a question. Hey, have you been hit hard by the pandemic? Hey, how's your financial situation? Hey, do you need help? Which is really, really cool. So I encourage you to answer as honestly as possible because they're there to help. They want you to start living a happier life today. Visit their website, read testimonials. They're popping up all the time. And I'm here telling you mine, right? So go to betterhelp.com, betterhelp.com/AES, Amy Edwards Show. And you can get 10% off your first month. How rad is that? Again, simply go for 10% off to betterhelp.com/AES and start living a better life today. All right. Welcome to it. Take a breath. Take a moment. Center and ground. One of the themes that has surprised me in today's episode and talking to Angie and just in my own life is trust. And so I just want to talk for a minute about self-trust. I think we look outside ourselves so many times for trust in other ways and things to hang on to really count on. But just like the self-love, just like everything else that is the paradox, we have to trust ourselves, and then that trust comes. And I am speaking from experience. That is what I've been working on the last few weeks. And it has surprised me. I suspected that I needed to work on trusting myself. So I started saying, I trust myself. I trust myself. I trust life. I trust what I'm being shown. I trust my instincts. I trust my intuition. I trust it all. So there were some things that were setting me off a little bit in different ways in my life. And I don't want to get too specific about that right now, but I think I can tell this without. So there were things that I was just noticing that I wasn't trusting, right? And so that's when I really leaned into, I trust myself. And I thought, fine, if I can't trust these other things, these external things, then what can I trust? And that's myself. That's the divinity within me. That's my own everything. So I started to lean into that as I was meditating, doing some other things. And as I did, I thought about those external circumstances and I thought, okay, if there's anything I need to be shown, let me see it. I will trust. Just let me see anything. It's like when we ask for a sign. I saw a funny TikTok the other day that was like, I asked for a sign, and then you get a sign and you're like, I need a signier sign. So somebody said, I need a signier sign. And so many times we do that because then we immediately doubt. We fall right back into that. Was that it? I don't know. Was that it? When really you're like, oh, there it fucking is. So can we learn to trust all that all the time? And I am just a doubter. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's like this sort of pragmatic, quote unquote, realist. It's not really a realist in me or what it is, needing proof or what. But I tend to doubt. And so I've had to work hard to overcome that doubt, which is probably rooted in fear, right? And so I was like, just show me anything. And I got shown something real clear. And I was shocked. My blood pressure went through the roof. I really was just stunned. I had a physical, visceral reaction. And I was trying to sort it out. And I was told I was completely wrong. And that wasn't the case at all. What I, quote, like read into what I was shown was wrong. My reaction was wrong. And so that has been something that I have been grappling with. Like, how could my intuition honestly, it's never wrong. Like when I have these moments, they're right. And I know that. So I may never get a straight answer on this particular thing. But I know. And I have decided to just trust myself that I know. That I know. And even just say it right now, I feel it. Like I feel it in my body. I feel it like in my heart, my solar plexus, my root chakra, my sacral. I feel it all through there, through the lower part. And it feels really real. And it's been something because I've been thinking about it for like days, right? And I even searched for proof, couldn't find it. So I was like, all right, well, is this my big lesson in trusting myself? And what does that mean, right? Because it feels really risky. It feels really scary because there's nothing else. It's just you. So I think what I'm getting at today is if you're listening to this, which you are, as you listen to this is your sign to trust yourself. This is your sign to jump in, to do it, to know, and to allow yourself to know. Because it's really scary. I think back to my episode with Tina Rodriguez. If you haven't listened to that, Tina knows a lot of things and she trusts it. Like maybe no one I've ever seen. You know, she speaks light languages. She speaks to whales and dolphins. She really knows these ancestral truths and allows them and just is like, yep, yes, saying yes to it. So if we can take those steps, those basic steps of like when there is no proof, trusting ourselves like I'm doing right now, just saying, I know. What else can spring from that? What else can it open up to us? So there is so much beauty in that. And it's not about being delusional, and it's not about being, right or wrong. It's just a knowing that you allow within yourself and your intuition. One of my earliest episodes with Caitlin Howe was about this, was about trusting that intuition and really getting in touch with it. And it's tough to do, especially when it's something that someone else says, no, no, you're wrong. And you're like, then why do I feel like this? So I'm going to choose myself. I'm going to choose to trust me and let it all go. And I like that. I like how that feels. I like trusting myself. And I'm very curious to see what comes of that, because I do know that paradox of like, love yourself and then the love from others flows, right? So that's what happens with the self-love practice. This is a self-trust practice. And so I'm very curious to see what comes from it, because I'm just going to fucking lean into it, because I think I've spent too many years not. And so where can you find those spaces to trust yourself? Maybe you're already really good at this, in which case I applaud you. I just have those little doubts, And so I just, even if you are good at it, maybe you just need a little nudge to remind you of trusting yourself, which I think is a really good thing. I love me a good reminder. So let this be a reminder, or let this be your sign to join me in just really trusting yourself. So I'm excited to do that. And I'm very excited about today's conversation. And it surprised me because so much of our conversation is about trusting yourself and learning to trust yourself and learning to trust the process. So my friend Angie is joining us today. Angie Hejl. She is so gorgeous, so cool, so creative, so talented. She is a party planner and designer at a soiree by Angie, and she is fucking talented, you guys. Like, she thinks of things and does things that have so much style and beauty that it always just like blows me away. I've hired her for a party for my daughter before, and it was epic. And she made these like balloon headbands for everyone. They're so cute. And she was just phenomenal. And she partners with Joe Placencio on Glam Soiree here in Austin. And those have been epic. Obviously, they stopped for the pandemic. So I'm looking forward to when those come up again. But you can find her at asoireeByAngie.com. But as I said earlier, like she's just so sparkly and just lovely and and youthful and cool and kind. And so when I learned that she had been in prison, I was very surprised. And I remember going down a bit of a rabbit hole trying to figure it out. And I was like, what? And so the next time I saw her, I just waited till we were in person. The next time I saw her, I might have commented on a post or something, but I was like, hey, I am very surprised. I did not know anything about your story. And she was like, yeah. And I said, listen, that could have been me. And I'm very inspired to tell that story on the podcast. And she was like, I'm totally not ready. That's not something I'm doing right now. And I was like, I respect that. Everybody's on their path and all that. And so it took time. I don't know. It really wasn't very long though. I feel like that was about 6 months ago. Because I remember telling my partner, Justin, I was like, man, people can really surprise you, with like their stories. And I told him how this shiny, amazing woman I know served time. And so, and plus I'm really curious, I wanted to know what happened and how she got to where she is and how she rebuilt her life. And so she appeared one day and said, hey, I'm raising money for Truth Be Told Texas, which is just incredible. I can tell you a little bit about Truth Be Told too, because they help women that are incarcerated. They're a 501c3 nonprofit that here, I'll read it to you. Providing transformational tools of community building, communication skills, creativity, and self-care for women behind and beyond prison walls. The Truth Be Told headquarters is located in Austin, Texas. They have prison and jail programs providing opportunities for personal and spiritual growth and healing from past trauma through truth-telling in safe communities. So it goes on. You can go to truth-be-told.org and learn more about it and donate. And I had heard about it actually a little over a year ago. Someone offhandedly mentioned how powerful it was. And so I was like, that sounds super interesting. I'm very interested. I think that sounds so worthwhile to really help women. And I love helping women. That's like one of my big goals. And I want to help everybody, of course, and do my part, raise my voice. So I thought, what can I do? We can share her story. And she showed up in spades today and shared her voice. And so Truth Be Told, we timed it for today as well, because Giving Tuesday is coming up. And so if you're listening in real time or, right now when it's being released, Giving Tuesday is coming up, and they are going to be working to raise $100,000 to continue to grow. So you can go to their website, which I'm going to have a link to. You can hit donate, and there's all sorts of levels that you can donate at. And it's really cool because it tells you where your donation goes and what it does. Like if you really want to go big and donate $1,000, that's equivalent to sponsoring facilitator training and support programs for 1 year. But every dollar makes a difference in helping them reimagine justice for women. So cool. So today, we're not only going to talk some about Truth Be Told, but we're going to talk about Angie's personal story and personal journey to how she got to where she is today, to creating a life that she loves. And this is a recent thing for her. It's been, I suppose, 13 years since she's been out, and her journey of self-love and self-trust and the ever-changing and shifting process of forgiveness, which we dive right into, is very interesting. And she has really just been working on that. And she did use some psychedelics to help her with her own PTSD and OCD that she had developed upon coming out. And that's helped her open up too with her story. So we're going to touch on her ketamine journey as well. So, but also just the trauma that led her to being incarcerated and led her to the program that she was in. And we're going to talk about private prison versus state-run prison and everything else. So there's a lot to touch on today, and it is so good and flows so well. So I'm very, very excited to share with you just this this beautiful soul, Angie Hejl, who I love so much. Like, I love her. From the moment I met her, I was like, I love you. Love her. She's just a light in this world. And I just am so honored that she accepted the invitation and chose to do this and was brave and spoke her truth, because it really inspires us all to speak our truth, whatever yours is. I hope so. I hope it really does. If you want to find her, I'm going to recap at the end too. So stick around for that, because we do have an affirmation today that we share at the end. And she is at A Soiree by Angie, or you can find her on Instagram at Angie Munchkin, just like it sounds, Angie Munchkin, Munchkin, or A Soiree by Angie, or glam_soiree, which she does run the glam soiree, which we talk about my experience with glam soiree too, which was pretty powerful in my life. But stay open, friends, and approach it with compassion. I think that this episode will make you more compassionate, less judgmental, and more open to unconditional love, and really make you trust yourself more. So big thanks to Angie. Stick around for the end. Let's get to the interview now with Angie Hejl. I'm so glad you said yes to this, because I asked you as soon as I heard about your story. I had no idea. You're one of the brightest shining lights of people that I know. Swear to God, you really are.
Thank you.
I love you. From the moment I met you, I was like, oh my God, I want to be like Angie. You're just so incredible. I love you. I love you, love you, love you. And we've known each other, what, for a couple years now, maybe?
Couple years.
Probably.
Maybe about 3 years.
I think we met through Joe Placencio with Glam Soiree, because you guys, I don't even know how you and Joe met. How'd you and Joe meet?
I was a trainer at Legree. So along with all my other things that I love, decorating, people are like, how much do you do? And it's like a lot.
Same.
But I like to learn. And I loved just, health and wellness and inspiring women.
Yeah.
So I trained her for a while and we just really hit it off. So we just stayed in touch.
Yeah.
And then we created Glam Soiree, and it's just taken off from there. She's one of my best friends.
She's wonderful. Yes, I know you guys are very close. Partners in shine.
Partners in shine.
Mm-hmm. And you're both very shiny. And we're here today to talk about how you cultivated that shine, because with your story, I get the impression that there were some very unshiny moments. Would that be accurate?
Very accurate. And there were some times where I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go. So it took a while.
I'm sure. So where would you like to start today? Because I know we can tell the story of your incarceration and how it came about. And I find it just so beautiful that you have embraced a healing journey, because it's not easy to do. Yeah. We can choose a lot of ways to cope. And we, meaning all of us. And what speaks to me so much about your story is I just feel like in another realm, in another plane, that's me. I just think we are all interconnected, of course, but we just have to understand we can't feel superior or righteous, because that could be you, that could be me, that could be us.
Yeah. And that's something I actually hear a lot. So
I'm sure you do.
I hear that could have been me. And I think that we're all one choice away from a mistake or a circumstance that could ultimately lead us to prison. And that's what happened. So
that's an interesting phrase, one mistake away, because as you heal, and as you expand into truth be told and using your story for good, does it seem as much like a mistake, And
that's actually a really good point. I always tell people that I would change the circumstances of what led me there, but I would never change who I am today. And all of that is the life experience that I have.
Right.
Because it led me to being in a place to empower women and to work and make the change and to know that like that is ultimately my destiny. And I resisted it for a while, but it's just stepping into like, yeah, this is why I'm here. And when you're going through a lot of those things, it's hard to wrap your brain around like why. There's a lot of questions on like, why is this happening?
Big
Why
time.
me?
And with what you went through, I can only imagine.
Yeah. But I do feel like it led me here.
Yeah.
And this I'm grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the life that I've created today.
Yeah. And then you go, if I changed one single thing, would I be the person I am today? Would I be here right now?
No.
And the answer is no.
No.
So you have to be grateful for every single thing, which is a weird fucking thought when you think about I was in jail.
Yeah. It's really weird. Gosh. And it's really weird how much like being in jail taught me about community.
So tell me about that. I'm very curious because like, you know, I come from Orange is the New Black school of thought, you know? Like, yeah.
It's easy to think of it that way. I will say like getting there is terrifying. And especially when
let's just cover that a little bit.
I was 20.
You were 20. How old are you now?
I'll be 34.
Okay.
This month on the 24th.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. That's the day before this comes out. So beautiful. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Ooh, what a beautiful opening up
I know.
you enter a new year. So lovely.
And I love getting older. So
Me too.
I know
too.
myself better and
Mhm.
I like myself more every year. So I'm embracing it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So when I was 21, I went to prison for 2 years. So they sentenced me to 24 months. I did 20. And just the moment that you hear the words, you just know everything is changing. Nothing will be the same.
No, I have chills just you saying that.
Yeah. It's scary. I had never been arrested before. So
I've never been arrested.
It's not something that you ever think will happen.
Right.
And I had that thought of like that will never happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like not me. And I don't think that anymore about anything in life just because
I'm sure
it can.
Tell me a little bit about your background, where you grew up and your like upbringing.
Yeah. So I grew up in Florida and
Where?
Central Florida.
Okay.
So kind of in between like Daytona Beach area, New Smyrna, Orlando.
Okay.
In between, I spent a lot of time on the beach, a lot of time in the water.
Okay.
My dad was a fisherman. So really chill. It was a chill environment. I do feel like I struggled a lot along the way in school and just overall. I'm a very sensitive person. So there was a lot of trauma in there that ultimately I think that led to what happened in prison. When I look back now, it's easy to see the pieces that led there. Ultimately, it was my decision, but
isn't that interesting?
Yeah. There were
Wow.
circumstances.
Like what? If you, and listen, again, we talked about this before. If there's anything you don't feel comfortable saying, don't even worry about it. It's all good.
Thank you. This I'm comfortable talking about. My dad was a drug abuser.
Okay.
So I just grew up and it was very glamorized. It was very like, it was in the 90s when, you know, Oxycontin was a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can say that.
Sure we can.
But it was in the early 90s when that was a thing. And like doctors were just passing it out. And it was such a big problem in Florida.
Wow.
Everywhere. But it was a big problem in Florida. And, you know, I think he just had his own struggles. And ultimately it led to his death. So he died when I was 15.
Oh.
And also like he was my best friend. Everyone knew that like I was my dad's like saving grace in life. So I just took on a lot as a young girl.
Wow.
And ultimately I felt responsible. Like I felt like I should have saved him. And it just sent me down from like 15 to that 20-year-old girl, a path.
That's such a responsibility to put on yourself. Wow.
So that's, you know, there was a lot of years of trying to figure it out and self-numbing and not knowing what to do with my feelings and just trying not to feel my feelings really and got me in a lot of trouble and changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. So you got arrested for drunk driving.
Yeah. I was actually So I got arrested for drunk driving, and I was in a car accident, and somebody was really injured. So that was such a life-changing moment. It's hard to even explain. Like part of my soul died that night. I have a hard time even watching like physical violence. I don't believe in saying hurtful things to people. So just knowing that I caused harm to not only one person, but so many people, it was unimaginable. And I learned a lot about myself during that time. It was like, you're either not going to make it or you're going to fight really hard to change your life and be a really good person. And just, I'll never be able to make up for what happened, but if I could at least create some good out of it, I needed to do that.
Yeah, because I'm sure people go on sometimes, I'm guessing, like an unending quest for redemption because you can't change the past. So how do you move forward? You know, that is the question.
Yeah.
So tell me about those 2 years a little bit. Because I know you in the notes, you said that you had affirmations that you told yourself while being incarcerated. Like what did you do? How'd you even shift your mindset in there?
So
how'd you even survive, really? Like, was that challenging in itself, just day to day?
Yeah, I will say I was home for a year and a half before I went because that's how long sometimes court processes take.
Sure.
That was harder being home. Just because honestly, I wanted to go to prison.
Yeah. Just let me go pay the price. Let me go be punished.
Yeah, I really wanted to. Like when the whole day came and the sentencing happened, I did not ask not to go.
Wow.
I just was so remorseful, and I felt like I needed to somehow in some way maybe forgive myself. And I do believe there's consequences to action. So although there were circumstances, I needed, like I wanted to I don't like the term pay my price, but I wanted to make amends somehow and just,
Absolutely. I can understand that. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, you said forgive yourself. Do you feel like you've forgiven yourself?
I don't know if I'll ever get there. I move in and out.
Interesting.
I've learned to like myself. And love myself.
There are people who haven't done anything like this that don't even like themselves. You know?
And that's where getting to that place is really good. And I think getting rid of the language of having to forgive myself has allowed me to have more grace. What
do you mean? That's so interesting. Get rid of the language of having to forgive yourself.
It's not that black and white.
Nothing is.
No, it's not. And I think that I'm learning to have compassion for the young girl that happened to.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
You're learning to have compassion for the young girl that happened to.
Yeah. And just look at where she was at in her struggles and know that that's not the person I am today.
No.
So I think I'm closer to forgiveness, but I think that it's such a definitive word that I just would rather say, like, I like who I am and I want to keep moving forward.
Everything else is a process. There's not a one and done for literally anything ever. I'm learning. I've been talking about it in the weeks prior. Everything's a practice. So why wouldn't that be?
Yeah. And some days I might be a yes.
Yep. Some days you're like,
practicing.
I am good right now.
Yeah.
But it ebbs and flows, and that's okay. Everything does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. So giving myself that permission has made it easier to step into having more of it.
Ooh, I love that. Giving yourself that permission. If people can take something away, give yourself that permission.
Yeah.
You don't have to have it all. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. And it doesn't have to be like, finally got that checked off my list.
Yeah. Yes. It's been easier just to be a mess sometimes and to just own that. Be like, I'm a mess. I'm working through it.
Yeah,
like,
it's part of the process.
Yeah.
We're working on it. Yeah. So you finally went.
Yeah. So those 2 years, it was an interesting 2 years. There was a lot of moving around in the beginning. So
You mean like, excuse me, getting to the right space or?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And each time you move is its own experience.
Boy, I bet.
So the first facility that I was sent to, let me back up.
Okay.
So getting taken to county jail was really interesting because you get there, you're terrified. I've never been there.
I would be fucking terrified.
And I'm 5'1.5". I'm
Oh my God.
very
I can only
small.
imagine how little and cute you were at 22.
I was really, I exercised, I got very strong before I went, I'm not even gonna lie. And I took some self-defense classes.
Did you
Like
really?
for real
Smart,
fighting.
smart.
I can grapple. It's so, but they yell, like, take her to prison block. And I was just like, holy
Dude,
crap.
that sends chills down me. Like,
Yeah.
that's for real.
And you're not leaving. There's nothing you can do.
Mm-mm.
So you're just honestly hoping for the best. And no, you go into it knowing like you are on your own. There is never a moment that like serious, like you are on your own. And like, yes, you can have support on the outside, but at the end of the day, like you're all you've got. And
Talk about learning something about yourself,
Yeah.
learning to count on yourself.
Mhm.
Nobody's going to save you.
No,
I don't think I've really thought of it in that way.
it's different to think about when
Yeah.
you like put yourself in the shoes.
I'm big on putting myself in the shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm willing to really go there.
Are you?
Yeah, I am. And I think that's why I've done a lot of the things I've done, like work on gun violence prevention and stuff. Cause I'm like,
Yeah.
let me really imagine a school shooting, and stuff like that. And a lot of people don't.
Yeah. It's a big thing to think about.
Mhm.
And it's easy to look away from things.
Oh, super easy. We
Yeah.
have a zillion distractions. We can just go shop or, look at social media or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I admire that.
Oh, I guess. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to say thank you. Okay. So there you are.
Yeah. And in county, you have a cell that the door is shut at nighttime and all of that
By yourself?
with one other person. And my bunkie was, she kind of ran the block. Like she was a little bit more of a scary person, or from what you would think from the outside. Like I
Maybe
remember,
that's good.
Yeah. I remember one of the officers being like, hey, how you doing with, and they would say her name.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, does it matter if like things aren't going well? And she would just kind of laugh. I didn't lose my personality through the whole thing. Thankful for that. Honestly, the woman was so caring and nice. It was shocking that like you could find light even in the darkest times.
Well, everybody, like we were saying, everybody has their coping mechanism. So even in there, you're going to toughen up or you're going to do whatever you have to do to survive, to count on yourself and to cope.
You have to.
Mm-hmm.
And she gave me a lot of tips along the way because she had been involved in the criminal justice system before.
She'd been in and out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is super common.
Can you say what she was in for? Or?
I don't even know.
You don't know.
No, you don't ask.
You don't ask.
Nope.
Really?
No, you don't
No one
ask.
asks.
Mm-mm. In the program I ended up being in, like you did tell your life story, but it's a rule.
It is?
Mm-hmm. Unspoken rule, but also you don't ask.
Well, what do you guys, do you have conversations with people? You do?
People end up like once they get close sharing it with each other, but it's definitely not something that is accepted.
That's kind of nice.
It is. At the end of the day, we're all human. Like you're all there and you learn not to judge.
Oh, I would say this was a massive lesson in non-judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think of yourself as non-judgmental, like to an extreme?
To an extreme. It's such to an extreme. I always look at both sides. I'm like, well, and I just have no room to judge anyone. And it was just like, it was such a humbling experience in that sense.
I mean, I don't think I have any room to judge anyone at all. And so I can just imagine like that would push you into like, oh no.
But from there, they took me to a maximum security.
Why?
You just go to maximum security.
Okay.
Yeah. And they take you to an intake center. Before that, when I first got there, they put me with the youthful offenders for a couple of weeks. And I remember people would warn me. They're like, you're going to be put in YO. And I was just like, I hope that doesn't happen because everyone talks about how bad they are. And
why?
bad isn't the right term.
Dangerous or?
Dangerous. Yeah. So the youthful offenders are young girls, normally between like 16 and 20.
Is it because their brains aren't fully formed yet?
They're
or?
not fully formed. Most
Uh-huh.
of them come from really challenging backgrounds. Most of them come from foster care. There's been a lot of
Got
trauma
it.
in their lives,
Mhm.
and they're trying to survive, and they have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
They have less to lose than the adults.
Yeah.
And they're wild, and they're still developing
Yeah.
and figuring out who they are. So that was a totally interesting experience.
How long were you there?
Just 2 weeks. I was too old for the program. So I was put in by mistake, and they ended up taking me out. And I was very grateful for that.
Wow.
I have a lot of passion towards, I would like to work with the youthful offenders one day.
Cool. What did you learn there? I mean, were there some things that stood out in those 2 weeks?
I just think that those girls need more love and care. And it's a tough environment. And it's almost like a boot camp where they're yelled at and spoken down to and march around the compound a lot.
Those are not tactics that I would think are effective.
No, it's a really challenging environment, and it's not nurturing at all, which prison's not. But it was harder than being with the adults.
Wow.
And that makes me sad.
Me too.
Because unless you teach people, then they're going to end up coming back.
Right. And there's like a tenderness with young girls. There really is, even with the toughest ones. And you just have to get there.
You have to get there.
Yeah.
And you can't be scared of them.
Mm-mm.
And that's why I want to work with them.
Yeah. It just involves, I mean, at least with my own daughters, they're not in those situations. But a lot of it's just shutting up and listening.
Mm-hmm.
At least I've discovered.
Yeah.
I don't try to offer advice or do anything. I just sit there and listen. And then pretty soon they start acting sweet. And I'm like, thank God.
I've always been amazed with your parenting.
Oh, that's very kind of
I
you.
honestly.
Thank you.
I really, I admire
Thank you.
you a lot and your
I
girls.
appreciate it. Thanks.
My pleasure.
I mean, and being there and seeing all these women.
Yeah.
With so many different stories to tell.
They all have their own story. And that was a challenging place to be, but I'm also really glad that I had that experience because I know that one day that I would like to work in that environment and
then you
help
will.
a young girl because I was that girl.
Yep.
And having the support in a program like I ended up in, I feel like just gave me so much. So after that, they took me out to the adults and that was interesting. You're in a giant room with people that just got there and they're trying to figure out what's going on. It's definitely an adjustment on your brain and your nervous system. And you're basically sorting out that you're in this alone. You don't know anyone. You've been moved a lot. And
you're just treated like a piece of something that goes here, goes there, just go.
Right? And there you were mixed with lifers and there was no.
Wow.
You just didn't know. And then in the intake center, you know that you're going to have a main facility, but you don't know where.
Mm-hmm.
It could be there. It could be somewhere else. And a lot of times, the different facilities have different security levels. So, if you were minimum security, which I was at a lower security level, you just hope that you got to minimum security prison. And a lot of the prisons in Florida, this is an interesting thing, they don't have air. So I know that sounds it can be quite warm. So those were small things that you just hope for. But I ended up at
I don't think that's a small thing. Everybody
it's
in Texas
actually not a small thing.
Oh yeah.
No, and it was summer in Florida.
Shit.
And it was that I have feelings around that. But I ended up in a minimum security prison, and there's a lot of controversy around private and state.
There really is. Yeah.
Because we definitely don't want people to profit. However, not all the time, but a lot of times the living conditions are better for the incarcerated person.
In a private facility?
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. There's more services offered.
Really?
Yeah. And not for all of them. I can't speak for all of them, but a lot of them. And
so how do you feel about that?
I feel like we need change as a whole, but I still want people that end up in that situation to have better living conditions.
Wow.
I honestly don't know how I feel about it
I'm sure.
because I was so grateful to end up at one.
Wow. No, that's super interesting because how can I make judgments on it? I haven't lived in it and I don't want to.
No.
But listening to you, I'm like, okay, I'll take your word for it.
If you have to, you have to.
Right.
And yeah, so I was grateful to end up there. My family was really grateful too. My mom was with me through all of this. So I did not go through this alone. And that's one thing I always tell people is like, incarceration is not like, although you feel like you're on your own, like I said in the beginning, it is not a one-person journey. Like everyone is, your loved ones are terrified too, worried about you. They hear you struggle. They're your support person. And
did you lose some friends? Did you lose support? Did you lose friends of anybody? Did anybody be like super judgy or?
I cut a lot of it before I went.
What do you mean?
I had like unhealthy relationships, like boyfriends and things like that. Like that did go away.
Oh, well, shit. You were able to cut out some toxicity and really take stock of your life because of this then.
I really did. In that moment, it was a life-changing thing for me. I was very much a nurturer, caretaker, would give too much, always put myself last. And this changed everything. I knew that all of that had to go away. For
talk about a transformative experience.
Me to change. Yeah.
At a young age.
Very young. I knew that if I was going to make it, that I couldn't have unhealthy relationships.
It was just not
anymore.
even an option anymore.
It was no option.
Mm-mm.
From there on out. It was, and I kept that.
Wow. Good.
Even to today. It's always looking at things and relationships that are worthwhile and worth having.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing to come out of it.
It is.
Yeah.
And I did make the friends that did stay are like, those are only a few, maybe like 2, but I'm okay with that.
Did you make any friends in prison that you've stayed in touch with?
Yeah. We don't talk every day, but we are in touch on social media. And so I ended up being
I think that's really sweet.
It is.
You understand each other in a different way.
Yeah.
That no one else can.
And they honestly were terrified that they would not make it or not be able to get jobs or like we grew together.
I bet.
We were in a therapeutic community for a year. And
afterward?
No.
Oh, during. Oh.
I was in a program. They put me in a program when I got to the facility I was in. And you lived as a community. And
meaning what?
So there was like 60 to 70 women in the dorm. And we went to classes all day. We worked through our past traumas.
Wow.
We shared our life stories. And we had a leader of the dorm. Like every day we got up, we had rules.
What time did you get up? Structured. What time did they make you get up?
I got up very early.
Like what?
I still do now.
What time would they make you get up? Like 4:30? I don't know.
I would get up around 5.
Wow.
Yeah. I liked my quiet time.
Yeah.
But I think you had to be up and ready around like 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's not bad.
No, it wasn't like terrible. We had to be ready, but it wasn't nothing like crazy.
No. Okay. Okay.
And it was just really fascinating to see people grow. I was one of them that didn't think I needed it. I was like, this is crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm surprised. I thought you would have known from what you've said.
I knew that what I did was wrong, but it was hard for me to put the pieces together then of like everything that led up to it.
It's hard to see a pattern and your own stuff when you're in the middle of it.
It is.
A lot easier to see when you are able to pull back and step away, right?
Yeah. And I still to this day, like, I remember my biggest roadblock to change is asking for help. And it's something I still work on. It doesn't come easy. It didn't then, but it showed me a lot of those things.
It seems like being in that environment too might work against that. You know?
It does.
Because you're like, I'm in here on my own, it's just me. Even reaching out to your family or something, it's like, how much can they really do? So,
and then the guilt that comes with that.
The guilt.
But yeah, so with the women, we just grew together and we stayed in touch when we left the program. And it was harder being on the compound than in the program when it finished. You could just tell people that had gone through it and people that hadn't.
Oh, okay. So you were in the same area, but done with the program, but still living there.
Yeah. So you were in a separate dorm when you were there and in the program. And then when you finished the program, you were still at the same like facility as a whole, but you weren't in like that community. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure that was tough.
It was hard.
So how long did you have to do that?
Probably about 6 months.
Okay.
Not too long. But you can definitely tell who has gone through it and who hasn't. The behaviors are just different. The interaction is different. And I can tell you that it does work. The recidivism rate of people that do that kind of work usually don't come back. And the percent's pretty high, like 86 point ours for Truth Be Told, which is who I volunteer with now.
So was that the program that you were in though?
No.
No.
Mm-mm. This was a little bit different. This is a state mandated. And Truth Be Told is volunteer based. Okay. And what's different about ours is it's written for women by women. And it takes into, it's more trauma healing and learning to tell your story. But the statistics are very similar across like people that are doing the work as a whole.
Yeah. What were when you were in the program, what was some of the biggest things that started to open you up that you started to learn? I guess you really didn't have a foundation for any of this.
None of it.
All the stuff that we talk about now, like affirmations, community.
Affirmations,
yeah.
Nothing. I didn't know any of that because even before that, I was like I was always on my own and didn't feel like I needed community or anything. I didn't know what that was. I left school pretty early in my years, like growing up.
What do you mean? You dropped out? When?
At 16.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And did what?
Worked.
Wow. Have you ever gone back and got your degree? I
do. I have my degree and I have some college, but I ended up working when I came home and got into my career. So.
Where was your mom through all this?
She was there. She had a hard time with me.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Stepbrothers and sisters.
Okay, Okay.
Yeah. But I did what I wanted. You know, I kind of like
sounds like
was in and out and I will say it would have been nice to have like a little bit like more structure and guidance.
How are y'all now?
We're good.
That's good.
We're really good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really, really good. I think that people do the best that they can. And I've learned to look at that.
That has become my motto, especially through the pandemic, through all the vaccination stuff and all that. Like people say whatever they say, but I've just decided everybody's just doing the best they can.
They really are.
Like literally everybody's doing the best they can.
We're all trying to survive.
Yeah. And so I've just it's made me just cut people all sorts of slack because I'm like, okay, they're doing the best they can.
Yeah, honestly. And I think that she did, like, I'm her only daughter. We'll just say that. She loves me very much. So, did we both make some mistakes along the way? For sure. But I'm able to see her as a person now, which is really cool.
That's really cool. Yeah, I figure I'm fucking my kids up in my own unique way. But,
maybe.
Probably. I'd say probably. We all are, right? You're just making brand new mistakes of we don't exactly know, and that's okay because I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
Like I really am.
You really are. And at the end of the day, they're safe.
I just want them to be safe, kind people, And you've gotten to your safe, kind space.
I have. Yeah. I have. The program did teach me a lot though. Like with
What was that program called? Did it have a name?
Resident RTU. I don't remember the exact name of it. I just remember the residential treatment unit.
Okay.
And it taught me that you can have relationships with women that are uplifting and empower each other. And we did a lot of that.
Hell yeah.
We did.
Yes.
Yes. And you're at your lowest of low in prison. You can't get any lower.
You really can't.
No. No. So, and there's only up.
Yeah.
If you choose it. So, and it was a lot of those conversations, like not sure if we were going to get jobs, looking at our family history and just encouraging each other.
Yeah, because I'm sure you were like, I don't have a degree.
No.
And now I have this on my record, which I'm guessing it's there forever. Is it there forever? Yeah.
I can get
or
it.
record. I don't know. Where even are these records?
I've been very blessed through that. But
what do you mean?
So when I came home, so the year and a half that I was before I went, I worked for a restaurant chain. And they're pretty well known. It was more like fine dining and just hospitality. Hospitality has always been my thing. I will say that no matter what I do in life, it's being of service to people.
You're so good at it.
I love it.
You're so good at it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. So I worked there before I went and they were so supportive. They wrote a letter to the judge. My GM promised me I'd have my job back when I came home. And
did you just cry? Did that just make you cry?
Oh my gosh. It was I'm learning to feel the feelings. I don't know if I knew what to feel then. I didn't believe it, to be honest with you.
You're like, yeah, right.
I didn't believe it. And when I came home, they gave me my job back and they promoted me. So I moved into sales manager and doing private events.
Wow.
And
is that company still around? I feel like you should give them a shout out.
We're actually hosting a fundraiser there.
Really?
A virtual fundraiser. Yeah. So it's going to be at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
Ruth's Chris is good people.
They're good people.
Really good people. They did some things like during the snowpocalypse that I was very impressed by.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
They really are good people. They give chances. My first year of sales manager, I was number 2 in sales year over year in the company. So like I worked my butt off. So
you meant it. Though.
I meant it.
You were like, I'm going to prove. You probably had a little bit of a chip on your shoulder where you're like, I got something to fucking prove.
I had so much to prove. Oh, and by the way, everyone that was there knew I went. So that was a lot to come home to.
God, I can imagine.
And then,
because then, if somebody new shows up, you're like, oh, I'm sure they're telling them I was like,
oh, for sure.
In the clink.
And they weren't all glad that I was the manager after that. So, but I just knew every day I had to keep showing up. And when I was in jail, I told myself over and over again that like I would do great things. I would walk in the field and just say that over and over again.
Really?
Yeah. I would just tell myself over and over that I will do great things. And I've carried it through. Like it's 11 years later and I remember it like it was yesterday.
Have you had times of faltering? Have you had times of deep depression? Have you had times where you sank?
Yes. A couple of years ago. I got married. I had the beautiful life. I had the beautiful husband and I was volunteering with Truth Be Told. And I realized how much PTSD I had. And I didn't understand that before. I have autoimmune, so it like shows up. For me, my trauma shows up in my body. And people would say that, but they didn't really explain it. And it's just like, so a lot of times it's like, it's in your head and this and that. So I would say depression, no. I have a lot of anxiety. I do have some OCD from all of the trauma and circumstances.
Sure.
But I hit a point where something had to change. I was really struggling.
What did struggling look like for you?
For me, just like really rigid, really hard to be around. I couldn't embrace anything good or like I couldn't feel the happiness.
Oof. There it is.
Yeah.
That's the thing when you can't feel the happiness.
I couldn't feel it. And there was so much happiness. And I didn't understand it. And I just remember being on my floor in the kitchen and I was like telling Jim, I was like, I'm going to have to check myself in somewhere. Like I was really serious about getting help. And I just committed to it right then. And
you said this was just a couple of years ago?
Probably like 3 or 4 years ago.
3 or 4 years ago. Because I know that you connected me with Allie and Illuma.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing the ketamine treatments made a difference for you. Well, your husband started that, I guess, but
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And then he did it.
I found it with all of I was like, I need to learn to feel my feelings. I couldn't even do the other therapy work because that's one thing we do a lot in Truth Be Told is like we identify feelings and I couldn't do that. I would sit in therapy and I sat in therapy for a year and tried and I just couldn't get there.
Meaning like
My brain
What?
wouldn't let me.
Wouldn't let you do what exactly though? Like identify a feeling?
I couldn't identify a feeling.
Like what feeling?
Sad, mad,
Really?
angry. It hit me.
You were just like, there's something going on, and like what?
It hit me when I did the Landmark. Have you heard of Landmark?
Yes, I have heard of Landmark. It's a bit of an MLM, isn't it?
It is. I kick and scream. There's good content. I've got my own feelings.
I've heard there's good stuff.
There's really good.
Yeah.
I'm not like the best participant. We'll say that. I never really am. Resisting is very, it's part of my nature. So
that's okay with me. I'm a resistor too.
My whole like in-law family has done it. Jim did all of them. So they have the language. They're super healthy, awesome people. And so I was going to the course. I wanted to leave. I did not want to be there. And my nervous system was so overwhelmed. And in that one of the courses, you had to write a letter to somebody you were angry at. And I wrote a letter to myself.
Damn.
And then we had to read it to the other person. The other person was like, what is this girl doing? And I just, in that moment, I realized like I hated myself.
Oh, well, there it was.
Yeah.
Good for you for finding that out.
And then I knew I had to change. And that's when I was like just looking up real trauma treatments. And I found ketamine.
Oh, really? So you found them, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. And I thought about it for a year. I was scared because it can be scary.
Oh God, it's so scary.
It's terrifying.
It's abso-fucking-lutely terrifying.
And then you're worried what people think too.
Yeah.
Because it's very alternative.
Yeah. Well, it's, it is a psychedelic. And I just did another one that I'm going to have the practitioner on my show soon. And they do it in your house. And she does it as a medicinal connection to the goddess. And it is super interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a different experience. So
I can't wait to listen to that.
You may have to try it, actually.
Yeah. I really think I will.
Yeah, I think you should. I'll put you in touch.
Neat. I would love that. Yeah.
So anyway.
So in my very first Illuma session, I felt so connected to my dad that I realized I had way more to go back on.
Wow.
It wasn't prison. I had to go back. And
what came up for you with your dad in that? Because it's such a weird, dark.
It's so weird.
Experience. I guess darkness maybe isn't the right word, but it can be scary.
It can be scary
when you're in there. Because it's a very intense dissociative psychedelic for those of you who don't know.
It is. And each person's experience is different and you have no control over what comes up. So in the resisting it, when you're under the ketamine therapy, makes it harder. So that is part of the beauty in it, is learning to give in.
Surrender. Allowing, surrender, let go.
Yeah. And my first one, I watched dolphins because you can watch a video. The first ones if you want to, and you can choose not to and use an eye mask. But with growing up on the water, dolphins were a big part of our life. Like all my pictures I have of my dad are with dolphins.
Aww.
And I felt like they gave me permission to be happy again. And Jim, my husband,
maybe
actually
that's your
sat
spirit
with me.
animal.
It is. He sat with me in my first one, and I was like, I can be happy. And since then, everything has shifted.
It really opened you up.
It did. It allowed me to start feeling my feelings and to work through things and to step into being a leader.
Was that shocking to be like, oh, this is sadness. Oh, this is anger. Oh,
yes. I'm still getting used to it.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
That's kind of cool because there's like a freshness to that that's interesting.
Life is new all the time. And I definitely say we live that way. Very self-expressed. Anything could change at any time.
Oh, yes. Yeah. You could be on the other side of what happened, any of it. We don't know.
We don't know.
Then it can all just change like that. Okay. So now you're still in the facility. Let's go back to the story.
Okay.
So you were worried about, you did tell me about getting out. like you said you were scared, you didn't think they were going to give you your job back. I guess I'm curious, like, I can imagine there's a lot of angst around
Getting out.
Yeah,
there is. There's actually a term called short timing, just because people start to get really anxious.
Oh, yeah.
And they start to like self-sabotage and they get in trouble. And then their date gets moved back because you get gain time when you go.
What?
Gain time. So even though I was sentenced to 24 months, you get 2 months off of a year if you don't get in any trouble.
Oh.
Yeah. So
you got 2 months and then 2 months.
2 months and then 2 months. And I also was on probation when I came home.
Okay.
So I technically got a 5-year sentence. I had 2 years and 3 years probation.
Okay.
So that's nerve-wracking being on probation because you have to get a job and check in every month and be drug tested, just the whole thing. And all of that was fine, but it doesn't let it go away. It's still a constant reminder. And I also had a hardship license when I went home. So there was still a lot. Like life wasn't just like you go home and there's freedom. And you're terrified that you're going to mess up.
Yeah.
And go back to jail because that's what happens. You finish your full 5 years. So, and you just feel like you have so much to prove.
Yeah.
To yourself and to everyone around you and your family. And for me, I just wanted to not cause stress to people anymore. So coming home was an adjustment. I think it's a bigger adjustment than people realize because when you're there, you almost have to shut everything off to just survive. And it's a lot of stimulation.
Maybe that's partly too why you couldn't feel any feelings.
It is. Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a lot of adjusting.
Yeah.
And I don't even think I realized how much there was when it was happening because you're just working on rebuilding.
Well, you're shutting down. Like you're just like survival mode kicks in, I'm sure.
That's the beauty of the work in the prisons is you learn to feel the feelings while you're there. And that stays with you when you go home.
That's nice. And that's what you're doing now.
Yeah.
To help people. Can I ask you this question?
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to answer it. What's the person that got hurt? You know, like, do you have any sort of contact or anything?
We don't. I would love to apologize.
Yeah.
From the bottom of my whole heart. I don't know if my words are enough.
Are they doing okay? Do you know?
They are.
That's good.
I think from what I've heard.
Good.
I've only heard through like bits and pieces. But I have heard that they were doing okay. And I've never reached out because I don't want to disrupt somebody else.
Right. No, that would be a lot. And
to make myself feel better.
And you wonder, how selfish is it, right? Is it about me, you know? And so, yeah, I can understand that.
I would have the conversation if it was coming from the other person.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good to know that about yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And to not be so selfish about it that like, oh, I have to, you know, apologize and all that, because so many times it is about that person, not about the other one, you know?
Yeah. When
right?
people have asked me, they're like, wouldn't you want to do that? Wouldn't it like help you forgive yourself? And I'm like, that's not a reason to do it.
No.
It needs to be about them.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
that's actually amazing. Good for you.
Thank you.
I think that's the right thing. I really do.
Thank you.
I affirm that.
I appreciate that.
Okay. So
Yeah. So
what else?
to go back when I came home, can I tell you a little bit about that?
I want to hear it. You can tell me about anything.
I was like, I had the job. I was building my career. I didn't think I would get married, but I was open to a relationship. And then I found my husband. And that took me, I knew he was different when I had to tell him about my past. And that's a hard thing to do. And
No, I'm sure just dating, you're like, at what point am I going to do that?
I told people right away.
That's good. You
Right
should.
away. Because
Yeah.
if they couldn't hang, like it wasn't the right one. But he had already Googled me and looked up all my stuff. So he saw all my mugshots. So that was
Whoa.
great. He's a very techie person.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I just want you to know that I've already decided it's okay. He's like, you can tell me if you want to, but you also don't have to. And I was like, this is different. And I've got to like pull it together. And it took me a long time to embrace that that wasn't going away, just because I was so used to all of it going away. And I was just waiting really for all the good.
Yeah.
So I did. It took me about a year, but I got there.
Mhm.
Of like, this is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good though.
It's so good.
So good.
It's
And
so
it's that's
good.
an example of how to be,
Yeah,
you know, that it's all okay. That we're all on our path.
it is.
And that's something you can teach women in
Mhm.
Truth Be Told.
Yeah.
So let's talk some about, you know, your journey with Truth Be Told, like deciding to do this and committing to it and moving forward with that.
So we moved to Austin, and I ended up leaving my job. So I had time. I had time to really, and time, having time is hard sometimes to think about like what you want to do.
Yeah.
And who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you're really with yourself. So,
Yes.
but the one thing I knew and I felt really called to do was to work with women who are incarcerated, just because I feel like it's easy to overlook them.
It is.
It is.
Very. It's not in the forefront of my mind whatsoever.
No.
Mm-mm.
Unless you're directly impacted, it's hard to think about.
Yeah.
And then it's hard to understand that like they're human and they're women. And I understood all the feelings of being there and being where I was. Like I was just so grateful that I was able to create that life. And I know that that's possible. And I wanted to share that and help people on that path of creating a life they love. And
When was the first time you told your story? Was it after a lot of this treatment and after?
it was after.
Yeah.
So when I
Because
went,
it wasn't that long ago, right?
No.
Okay.
no. In fact, my business partner, Joe, encouraged me to tell my story. And I called her and I was like, please
Oh,
don't
Joe
ever
that
do.
we mentioned at the beginning.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
So Joe Placencio, she was like, I think you should tell your story. I think it would be really powerful.
She's right.
She was right. I was not ready to hear that. And I called and I was
Really?
like,
What was your initial reaction?
please don't ever say that to me again.
For real?
Completely shut it down. And she was very patient with me. And she has been my
She
biggest
planted the
cheerleader.
seed.
She planted the seed.
She did. Mhm.
And she was my biggest cheerleader along the way.
So before she said that, did you ever have anything come up where you kind of had an inkling, like in your heart, like, I know that this would make a difference?
I knew it and I would share it with people that were close to me. I'd never hidden it, but I had a hard time sharing it so publicly.
Like we are now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And even in the volunteer work, talking about that, I had a hard time connecting to that piece. And we're big on storytelling, like learning to tell your story and how freeing it is.
It is so freeing.
It is so freeing.
So freeing.
I could only wrap my head around the logistics piece, like giving people resources,
Okay.
which is a big part of it too.
Take the steps, take the steps you need
Yeah.
to step. A few episodes ago when all the abortion stuff was going on in
Mhm.
Texas, I had an anonymous guest and afterwards she was like, basically like, next time I probably won't be anonymous. Like that was just
Wow.
comfortable for her in that space then to tell her story. And it was really powerful and really incredible. But we just have to, sometimes dip your
Get there.
toe in,
Yeah.
and like get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's okay. No matter what somebody's story is, it's so funny too, because you can see it from the outside sometimes
Yeah.
and see how inspiring it can be. I knew someone who has, dealt with heroin addiction, and I can just see how powerful that story would be. But that person's not ready to share it, not ready to reveal that, still afraid of a lot of judgment.
Yeah.
What was beneath you not sharing it? Was it judgment? I mean, you shared it with people you're close to, but were you scared of like a bigger picture of judgment? Like what was underneath that? Was it fear of what? And how was it, I guess, what made you overcome that?
So I don't think I was necessarily scared of like fear of judgment towards myself. I still was protecting my family a lot.
I think so many times that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I didn't want to let people down. It was hard for people to understand why I wanted to like still be in that world.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to accept that like, no, this is where I feel like I need to be.
Like, this is my story. This is part of my story.
It is. And it was hard to explain that like I wasn't like, they didn't think I was moving on.
Just move on.
It was that.
Yeah.
Just move on.
Just move on.
So even doing the work, I still hadn't like told my story, and I always admired it so much in the women that did, like to stand up and own it. And it took
anytime somebody stands up and owns it, you're like,
so inspiring.
Clap, clap.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super fucking inspiring.
So I knew I wanted it, but I also was like, who am I? It was a lot of the self-doubt, like, who am I to share this? And also I had guilt around like, you know, I'm not advocating for drinking and driving. Am I against it? 1,000%. Do I do it? Absolutely not. But I felt guilty that like where I feel drawn is to women who are ultimately like have made mistakes. I don't feel that way anymore.
Good.
So a lot of it is just really owning like what I feel called to do.
Every piece of it's important, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah. No, that's really incredible.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've given the other piece to the other people. Like if they have feelings, then I encourage them to work on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Since you've started working with people and working on this, what new transformations are you seeing within yourself? Like, what's that giving back bringing to you?
It's giving me so much. It's giving me deeper relationships with people, like really meaningful relationships.
It cuts out the fluff.
It does. I'm not a fluffy person, so I appreciate that.
No, you're not. But then again, you know, you love beautiful things and balloons and, you know, setting a space.
It's given me that.
Sure.
Before I moved into the design space, I would have told you I was not a creative person. I'm serious. And now it's my whole life.
You sit with pink hair.
I know. I'm like, can I just be a unicorn mermaid? So it's given me that. It's given me my play. And I don't think I ever knew that. And self-expression wasn't something that was taught, you know? And through the healing and working with women, it's given me that, like just that playfulness, deeper relationships, and healthy relationships. Learning to trust people. That's been new, is learning to trust.
I like that because you wrote that in the questions. You said the moments of bottom gave me unwavering strength to face most of my life head on. Take the risks and believe that no matter what, it'll all work out if I trust myself.
You have to trust yourself.
Oof. I've been working on that just recently.
It's hard though.
As in today. It's really, it's just one of those things like, oh, I want to trust myself. And then life is like, here, let me just heap a bunch of shit over here. And then you can learn it. You're like, wait, what? Okay. So yeah.
I'm inspired that you're learning to trust yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that there's trust in like the learning process too.
They're
like just being open.
Big time.
Yeah. Yeah. Trusting others was harder, I think, for me.
Big time.
Yeah.
It is for me.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure that I really, truly, completely trust anyone, actually.
Wow.
I know. Isn't that sad? It's pretty sad. And I'm not even sure where that comes from in my childhood. And that's probably part of why I'm so open about everything because like, why keep it secret?
No.
You know, why trust someone with something? I'm like, I might as well just tell everybody because it doesn't fucking matter.
I believe in that too. I just tell them before they can figure it out. I'm like, here's all the stuff. Yeah. But I will say, I do think that doing the work has allowed me to have relationships with like business partners.
Yes.
With Joe.
Yes.
And working with the women. So I think that it's taught me a lot of that. Like it's just given me so many learning lessons. And
That's good. And it's going to continue doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about what's happening with that right now with Truth Be Told, because you have a big campaign that's happening and that you've been working hard on.
We have a big, big campaign and it's very exciting. So we are fundraising to raise $100,000 to help us expand and reach more women. So
in Texas, in Austin, in what?
In Texas.
In Texas.
So we're in Central Austin, which that spans pretty wide. But we would like to be in more facilities in Texas and then hopefully one day, grow outside of Texas.
So you work in the facility. So when you say I'm helping people, you're doing it in the incarcerated facility.
So now I've moved into being a board member. So I am not currently going into the facilities.
But you were.
I was, as a facilitator. So we have volunteer facilitators that go in and we have different classes. So we have a few different curriculum that they teach. And
how'd that feel the first time going back in?
Weirdly, not like I know that it's
familiar in a way.
It was
where
so
you're
familiar.
You're like, I got this down. I know it all.
I did.
Because if I walked in, I'd be like,
it wasn't uncomfortable at all.
Yeah.
It's just all like everybody just, it's their most honest self. And I know that's weird. And it's a really strange place for trust to be built. And I can say like, that's a really magical piece of Truth Be Told. In an environment where women are trying to protect themselves, and they probably were even before they came, like trust is built in that room. And then the sharing happens and the healing happens. And that's what makes such a strong community.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Thank
so beautiful. And it's so important because I feel like I hear a lot of stories about maybe proper is not the right word, but effective rehabilitation for people that are in prison in other countries and things like that. And so to be able to make significant change in people's lives and really help them build into something beautiful and flourish is really, really crucial.
It's so crucial. And the trauma healing piece is crucial. It's crucial in so many layers. And we have a class, and that's the one that I facilitated with that works with women that are going home in 6 months or less. So working with, going home, what that looks like, having a plan. And then we also offer a Beyond Bars community. So that's been really special to spend time with the graduates recently.
Cool. Yes.
Yeah. So special. Yeah. So we do have like support for when people go home, and they meet weekly, and it's just people that understand what you're going through and can be somebody that you can turn to and help you.
Yeah.
So,
well, one thing that I find very interesting about your story in particular is that for people who have not experienced that, like me, who did drive drunk and think, oh, that very well could have been me. It's very accessible in order to feel like, oh shit, how can I make a difference? Like this is a story that like, I fucking get it,
Yeah.
And so it just really opens it up for like, okay, how can I contribute? How can I make a difference?
Yeah.
Which is what we're working on too with this campaign.
It is what we're working on. And that's a big part of it is like really, we have a big campaign around like this could have been me.
Yeah.
And
which I'm participating in. I'm glad to participate. Thank you for including me.
We are so grateful. So having like a group of women that haven't been impacted directly by incarceration, but that really understand that it could have been them, and giving the women that are behind bars a voice and just raising that awareness that like any of us are one choice away. So we are so grateful. And it's a mostly online campaign. We will have a virtual event. And all of that information people can find on our Instagram. So we've been sharing about it.
Yes, which is of course Truth Be Told.
Yeah.
Is it Truth Be Told Texas or
Truth Be Told Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. TX or I forgot.
It's Texas spelled out.
Okay. TEX.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have that right in front of me.
No, that's okay. I had to think about it for a second too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm gonna look it up while we're talking. No, I mean, I'm just, I'm blown away, and I'm just glad that the time came, the right time came for you to tell your story.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Oh,
I do want to
grateful.
share one more piece, if that's okay.
I want you to share as many pieces as you want.
Okay.
I just want to, I want to get the Instagram
Cool.
right. So I'll do that in a second.
Do you want to do that? No, do that.
No, go ahead. Start
Okay.
talking.
One of the pieces of the fundraiser is we are hosting a virtual story gathering, and that's a really special piece. Normally we have the story gatherings in the prison where we invite people in to be respectful witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are doing that again, I would love to invite you.
Respectful witnesses.
Mhm.
Ooh, that's nice.
It's
Nice
honestly,
phrase.
it's an honor. It ends up being such an honor to be a person in the audience, and you just show up to
hold space. Uh-huh.
for somebody sharing their story.
Yeah.
It ends up being such a moving experience.
I'm moved right now just thinking about it.
It's such a gift. You're giving a woman such a gift. So we haven't been able to bring people in with COVID. It's been really hard with COVID.
That's like bringing tears to my eyes. That's really, really nice. Yeah.
But we want to recreate something similar to what we do in the prisons. And a graduate is going to share her story. We also do some movement pieces where the women tell their stories with like embodiment and movement.
Well,
like
that's
dances.
interesting.
It's really interesting. We have a movement class. So
did you do that back when?
mm-mm.
What do you notice comes up with that? Do you think that have you tried it?
I haven't tried it.
Ooh, Angie,
I'm really excited
you need to try it
I do
because
want
if it manifests in your body, what if you could move while telling your story and move some of that energy?
Yeah, I'm super open to it. Some of the board members are going to participate, and I should. Yeah, I really should.
It'll push you out of your comfort zone. At least I'm sensing.
No, I think you're right. When people got a little bit nervous, I was like, no, this is what we're teaching. I fully support. I should do that. I'm on board.
You need to experience it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
Absolutely. So we want to share that with a virtual audience. That way we can give people a peek into like the work that we do with our graduates and a few board members.
Yes.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing the work with Truth Be Told? And it is Truth Be Told, Texas.
Yeah. Off and on for about 6 years. I took a break when I like really committed to my
when you were
trauma
like,
healing
I don't
work.
feel any feelings.
Yeah. And now it's been so awesome to step back in with the power and knowing that like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Is that partly why you changed your hair color to pink?
I wore pink every day in high school or in middle. Like I'm a pink girl at heart, but this has been fun. So I would say,
a year ago, maybe, or
about a year ago, and I haven't been able to get rid of it. Part of it was, and it was around the time of my sharing.
Interesting.
It was at my 10-year mark.
That's interesting. Don't you think?
It is interesting.
That's interesting?
Yeah.
Did you notice that those things coincided?
Yes, but it's taken me a while to admit that they were.
They might be. They might have some correlation.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I changed my hair color, it was during a period of transformation.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. And mine was probably for different reasons. I felt like I needed to look in the mirror and see something different. But it was a good thing too. Yeah. Because I was just going through some things and it needed to change, you know? And then finally I was like, okay, well, I accept this, you know? So,
I like that. And it can be, you know, comforting for a while to
for sure
shift and embrace something new or who you really are. Yep. Yeah. I think part of this was like just owning who I am.
Yeah.
Perfectionism has been a big part of my trying to work through things, but really masking them. So just being like,
me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I have those tendencies.
It's easy to have. It's like, oh, if it all looks put together, then like it will be.
Fake it till you make it, essentially. But it doesn't really work because the essence of perfectionism is about control.
Yeah.
And thinking that we've got it all under control when really you are masking the chaos that's underneath.
Yeah.
How's that been? Have you let go of perfectionism? That's part of the OCD probably too.
Yeah,
right?
it's a journey.
Mm-hmm.
I would say some days are better than others. I've gotten a lot better.
Good for you.
Yeah. During times of stress, it might be. It shows up, but I recognize it when it shows up.
You do?
Yeah. And it
Good for
allows me to
you.
check myself.
Good for you. Because
Yeah.
mine still, I'll be like, everything needs to be in its place.
Oh, no. It hasn't gone away. But I do recognize it. So I'll say awareness is key.
Yeah, awareness is key, and it's all a journey.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. I'm looking at our notes to make sure I didn't miss anything that I wanted to cover, because that whole trust myself thing I thought was a really cool, just like almost punctuation on it. That's like, here lies a very huge component for all of us.
Yeah.
We can just trust ourselves, and trust yourself to tell your story, and trust yourself to learn from whatever's happening.
Yeah.
Even if it feels like a misstep, it's really not. It's a part of your journey. It's a part of your path to success and happiness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I think everything is a learning lesson.
Me too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's all about that growth. It's all about that
It is.
opening up.
I will say that is a gift
Mm-hmm.
that came from all of this, is learning to trust myself.
Do you have practices that you do all the time around this kind of stuff? Like what do you implement in your mind, in your daily life, to keep building?
That's actually a good question. I'm not a meditator.
I had a good question every now and then.
Yeah. I'm not a meditator. I will say that. I'm not.
It's okay.
But I do believe in affirmations.
Yeah.
So telling myself affirmations. And
What do you do for that? You just pick one and
Yeah, I just pick one.
and you just repeat it in your head, or
Yeah.
what?
I repeat it in my head.
While you're driving, while you're walking around?
I actually like to walk
Mhm.
and do it. I'm like more of a walking affirmation person.
Yeah.
Sitting still is hard for me. So I've learned that like a lot of my relaxing and groundedness is walking and thinking and or with the affirmations. A big piece for me too is my dogs. I know that might sound strange, but
You don't have to preface. I don't think.
no.
Leave that sentence
Okay.
out.
Okay.
I encourage you to let that go.
No, but honestly,
Because
like being
I
grounded
don't think that's strange at all.
with my dogs, it brings me like, I had a therapist once teach me like, if you're feeling overwhelmed, like to imagine being with my dogs and like what they feel like. And they're just my most like grounded space. So
It is. It's like an anchor of joy.
Mhm.
You know, I used to do it after I got my first divorce, and it was a dark time. Post-divorce is a dark time. And it was a dark time. And I would just sometimes, as I was falling asleep, think about Sydney. She was, 2 or 3 at the time, and I would think about like her cheeks and just her little soft cheek, and that was just like an anchor. It's just the same, not to compare it to a dog, but you know what I mean?
No, but it's
To
like the little
sweet,
tiny,
Mhm.
like real loving things.
Yes, real
Yeah.
loving thing. And that child is loving you unconditionally, just like your pet is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that connection to unconditional love
Yeah.
and just the beauty of that.
hmm
Maybe.
I believe that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I think, truth be told, really, when you get down to it, you've got to work on that unconditional love. Like, I'll love myself once I forgive myself, or I'll
Yeah.
love myself once I'm out, or I'll love myself once I've, gotten through this or can feel some feelings. It's about loving yourself right here in this moment.
Yeah.
How's your unconditional love going?
Better. It took me a while to get there, but it's
Oh,
going better.
Me too.
And I will say, doing this work, it holds you accountable. So a lot of times, like, you really have to practice what you preach.
Yeah.
And
Really in anything you do.
I know
Mhm.
it really does. But, and being the person that shows up, I think just it keeps inspiring.
It does.
Yeah.
And you showed up here today.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm so glad, because I asked a while back and you were like, I'm not ready. And I was like, when you are, you let me know. And then you did.
I know. And I'm
Uh-huh.
so grateful. So thank you.
I'm so grateful, because I think I know how powerful this is. It spoke to me immediately. I was like, what? what? And I was like, I have to know more because you're just such a lovely human and the work that you've done really shows. And I hope that your story just echoes through everything and reaches the ears that it needs to reach to help people, because it does.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. So as we start to wrap up, is there anything on your heart or anything you want to share or anything that we missed or just you really want to reiterate or anything before we go?
I feel like what's really on my heart is just something we spoke about is we're all just doing the best we can.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if that's one thing that I could take away from all of this is really the understanding that like we're all trying and, you know, we have different journeys and everybody is worthy of a second chance and a third chance even in just love and compassion.
Mm-hmm. And just that is unconditional when we just say, you're just doing the best you can in this moment. And it just provides you with this compassionate perspective. That's so beautiful. What a great thing to come out of this.
Yeah.
Right?
So leading with compassion.
Mm-hmm. Leading with compassion and how beautiful that is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's be sure and share with everyone how they can find you. Now, first and foremost, though, they can donate to and participate on Giving Tuesday.
Yes.
As we move forward, because we timed this specifically for that, or they can go to Truth Be Told Texas on Instagram, or tell me more. The website is truth-be-told.org, right? And there's a donation button right at the top so people can go there. And I'll put it in the notes as well.
Perfect.
Is that that's the best way for them to donate in this campaign, correct?
Yeah, I would say going to the main website and the donate now button or linking it through Instagram. We will also be sharing it on Facebook.
Good. And it's really cool if you click on donate too. And the hashtag is us too. And you can see exactly what your money provides.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because $50 is equivalent to providing journals for one Talk to Me class for one semester. That's pretty good.
You see exactly where it goes. Yeah. And you'll keep seeing it as we expand and grow.
Yeah. So cool. So I encourage everyone, and I'll be sharing about it too on my Instagram, and you will as well on your Instagram, which everyone can find you at Angie Munchkin.
Yes.
Yes, Angie Munchkin and A Soiree by Angie, which I would encourage people to check out because your parties are epic. They're so gorgeous. You have such great taste and I love it. So that's your website too, asoireeByAngie.com. Or you and Joe have partnered up for the Glam Soiree. That's glam_soiree.
Yes.
And
that's just a fun, inspirational women's event and highlighting women throughout the awesome
Are we going to have another one?
Hopefully soon.
In person?
We need to.
Yes.
We've been waiting till things calm down and it's safe for everyone.
Of course.
But we are dying
we don't want to wear masks.
No. It would mess up our glam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we could have glam masks, but still. I will say the first Glam Soiree I attended, which I think I met you that day, changed my life.
How so? I'm curious about that.
I sat across from Amber, who offered to certify me in Reiki that day. And randomly I said, sure. And so now I'm a Reiki master underneath Amber, and I perform Reiki on myself on a daily basis. I'm not like an outside practitioner necessarily, but I do it. And taught me so much. I also was struggling with healing my voice, and there was selenite on the tables, and I took home a piece of selenite that I used on my throat, and we had talked about the selenite at the dinner, and I used it on my throat when I got home, and I don't know what the fuck it did and brought up in me.
Wow.
And I had been trying so hard to heal it I had had surgery a couple months before on my sinuses about it, and it still wasn't healed. I had done Bufo, which is 5-MeO-DMT, and had a really powerful experience with that I was still integrating. And I was just like, what the fuck? And so I did the selenite, and I got sick almost right away with like strep, and my throat got really sore like that day. And then, this is crazy, Angie.
Oh my gosh.
And then I had a super powerful reactivation of Bufo that, where like I went into that realm kind of, and suddenly I healed.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
No, it's kind of amazing.
I healed, and it is totally amazing.
It
And
really
it's
is.
insane. And so it was like 3 months at that point after Bufo. That was it. And after I'd had that surgery, and I was just still going through stuff, struggling. 2018 was a hard year for me. And the selenite, I did it over my forehead and my throat. Do you remember having selenite on the tables?
I do. It was our Crystal Connection dinner.
It sure was.
And I remember meeting you.
It sure was.
Yes.
And this was that night and the next day that I did all this.
Yeah.
And then, so I had the Bufo flashback. I don't know what energy pushed out of me. I became a vegan. I quit smoking, and I quit drinking coffee.
Oh my goodness.
Like that.
Wow.
Isn't that
I actually
wild?
remember listening to your podcast through
Yeah,
a lot of this.
I talked
and
about
hearing about the
this.
strep throat
Yeah.
and your journey with veganism.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the
I'm
cigarettes and
not
the coffee.
so much a vegan
Wow.
anymore. I need to get back in touch with my higher self on that one. I've been eating meat. But anyway, it just like, it pushed out a bunch of stuff. And I think it was the beginning for me of a connection with women and in community that I so needed and didn't understand that I needed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it came about through that and through Fit for Service. And so that's been a super interesting journey.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that makes me so happy. It's been a beautiful journey for me too. Even like stepping into all of this.
Yeah.
It has led me there. And
Mhm.
I never thought that it's something I would want to lead or co-lead. And it's been amazing. And we set intentions at every dinner. So I'm
Mhm.
actually wondering if one of your intentions was your throat healing with
It probably
the
was.
crystals.
It probably was.
It's a really awesome community. I feel like being in a room full of women can be intimidating sometimes.
Yeah.
And I will say there is none of that.
No,
In the
because you're
rooms.
just like-minded. You're there for
Yeah.
the right
Right reasons. You're
Mhm.
there to lift each other up and empower
Big time.
and set intentions.
Yeah.
And it has grown. So it's been a blast. And I'm so grateful for it because we met and all these other awesome women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not even sure. Oh, I had met Jo really briefly before that
Mhm.
one day. And then I followed her online, and then she was doing this. And I was like, let me in. Why am I not invited to this? I want to go. And then I went. She was like, come on. It was very inclusive.
She was very excited.
Yeah.
I
was
remember.
too.
Yes. And then we did the party for your daughter.
Yeah, we did.
And I was
Mhm.
thrilled.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's been 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Mhm.
So she was turning 10. So she's 12 and a half now.
Wow.
I know. Time flies.
Yeah.
So a lot of work has been done. And thank you to you too for introducing me to Ali Waddell and Illuma. You were right about that. That's made a huge difference in my own neuroplasticity
Mhm.
and neural pathways and
Yeah.
in changing ruminations. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. I'm
Yeah.
so glad.
So glad. We're all, you know what, we're all just connecting everybody else and doing our parts. So I would encourage people, if you hear this today and you suddenly think of someone, share it,
Yes.
reach out, do it, because you're having that instinct for a reason. So trust yourself.
Mhm. I love
See how I
that.
tied that back together?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
it's beautiful.
I
Well,
love
thank you. Thank you so much for all that you shared, for being so brave to share your story, because it is scary, but that's where the growth happens.
It does. Thank you.
Damn right. Everybody go follow Angie and donate to Truth Be Told and look for our campaign. I'm
Mhm.
saying our.
No,
Your.
I love it. I love it.
I'm
It's
glad
like
to-
made my whole day, my month.
It's so beautiful. Mine too. Thank you, Angie. I love you so much. I love you.
Love you.
Thank you so much to Angie for showing up the way that she did today and telling her story. So inspirational, because honestly, like the hashtag is, us too. I mean, I really just feel in my heart, there but for the grace of God goes me, right? And we're all just playing the hand we're dealt, you know? So what are you going to do with it? And her story is very inspiring with what she's done with it. Our affirmation for today is I trust myself. Sit with it. And you know what? Don't get too stagnant in your affirmations. I feel like a lot of times I'll sit with it and I'll just flow with wherever it flows. So maybe it's going to flow into I trust life. I trust what I'm being shown. Ooh, yeah. Like me in the beginning. I trust my intuition. Just wherever it flows, flow with it. Flow with it. It doesn't have to be too rigid. I trust myself. Consider it a jumping off point to trust yourself to be led in the right direction. All right. So thank you so much for being here. Thanks again to Angie. Remember that you can donate to Truth Be Told and their campaign to raise $100,000, which I am participating in too, with the That Could Be Me and the hashtag us too. So you can go to their Instagram and you can follow the prompts there. They're at Truth Be Told Texas. Texas is all spelled out on Instagram, or you can go to their website, which is truth-be-told.org. They are a 501c3. And so there are many ways to give, and there will be the virtual story gathering coming up on December 8th as well. So I want to highlight that because I definitely want to be a part of that and to hold space for these people because they are working on rebuilding. And aren't we all in some way? Just like me with this trust. We are. Yeah, we are. I know. That's why we're here. Yay. Yay. I commend you for whatever you're rebuilding right now. Way to go. Just take a little step, just a little step. Just repeat the affirmation. Whatever it is, just a little something. It's okay. It all starts somewhere. I promise you that. All right. So if you want to reach out to me, if you've got a story to share, some kind of transformation story, I'd love to hear it. You can reach me at amy@amyedwards.com. You can find me on Instagram at @realamyedwards. I do try to check my messages and my requests fairly frequently. And, yeah, like, rate, review, subscribe, do all the podcast things. We are so super appreciative. And again, share, like we said at the end, if somebody came up in your mind and you're like, I think they need this, then share it. Share it. You know what? Honestly, when someone shares something with me, I'm excited to be thought of. I think it's really nice. So I say go for it. So big thanks to our team here at Hot Pie Media, to Alyssa, who was running everything today, and Colton too, and just our whole team here at Hot Pie Media as it grows. You can find this and so many more shows at hotpiemedia.com. And of course, I'm producer on Overcome with Justin Wren, and we have awesome shows there all the time. So I encourage you to go check that out. Some good Overcome stories. I love you. And we are here to make our lives rock and to keep lifting ourselves up and each other up in the process. So remember that. Remember that your story is really, really important and powerful. Don't think who me. Trust yourself. Trust your story. Trust it all. Go for it. I feel that in my intuition. Do you? I feel it right now. So I am wishing you love, light, truth, trust, stories, peace, bliss, all the wonderful things. Love to you. Till we meet again.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked this show, please rate and review. It totally matters. And I encourage you to spread the love too and share this episode with a friend if you feel called.